Aitlin Clark on the roster, and the world will be waiting for their answer. Love her or hate her, Aitlin Clark has indeed left a mark on the basketball world, and her absence at the 2024 U.S. Olympic women's basketball team will be a topic of conversation that cannot be ignored. You have the choice to either admire or despise Aitlin Clark. You can appreciate her connections to Iowa or have negative feelings towards them. Similarly, you may favor or disapprove of her based on her race, just as with her sexual orientation. Your opinion may lean towards positive or negative in regards to the media's interest in her, the impressive TV ratings and packed arenas, or even her interview. With Aitlin Clark on the 2024 U.S. Olympic women's basketball team, players who have been largely ignored by the sports media at every Summer Olympic Games that I've covered, which is every one since 1984, would have finally received the spotlight they deserve from a national and global audience. As the Games approached, with the widely popular athlete Clark set to compete, I believe that the primary focus for the Americans in Paris, as well as many journalists from around the world, would revolve around these key narratives: 1. Simone Biles, 2. Katie Ledecky, and 3. Aitlin Clark. Maybe you add an athlete or team or to here or there: U.S. women's soccer, U.S. men's basketball. Take your pick, but that's the general idea. With Clark continuing to set records for TV ratings and attendance in her first eye-popping month in the wnba as she did in NCAA basketball, it would have been inevitable. She would catapult U.S. women's basketball to a place it so richly has deserved but has never attained. Coverage from broadcasters and news organizations not just in the U.S. but around the world. Headlines every day, and most important, vastly increased respect from a still male-dominated international sports media that has for decades focused almost exclusively on the U.S. men's basketball team rather than the women, who are so good they haven't lost since 1992. However, if she had decided to follow Clark, it would have meant introducing a larger audience of Olympic viewers and readers to the entire U.S. team, many of whom may not typically be avid sports fans or have never watched a women's Olympic basketball game. You've never watched Breanna Stewart on one of her previous Olympic teams. You would have been watching her this summer because America's interest and even obsession with Clark would have brought you there. Same goes for Brittany Griner, assuming she's healthy. But Clark isn't coming to Paris unless someone withdraws or is injured. Clark won't be there to bring the casual sports fan who fell in love with her at Iowa and now knows the difference between Ion and Prime to finally and rightfully watch Diana Taurasi and Jackie Young at the Olympics. She won't be there, so all those fans won't be there because they're never there. And one could only have imagined the global appeal of Clark once writers and reporters from around the world dropped in and watched a few Logo 3 South fall from the sky and a few hundred more autographs be recorded for posterity. It is possible that young girls in Europe and Africa would have been equally captivated by the game of basketball like girls in America. However, this is no longer the case due to the efforts of USA Basketball, whose goal is to promote and enhance the sport at all levels. This responsibility seems to have now fallen on players like Aitlin Clark, because this great opportunity to publicize international women's basketball has been eliminated. The vast majority of broadcasters and reporters will be able to focus, as they always have, on the swimmers and gymnasts and runners and leave the U.S. women's basketball team alone.